Okay, let's arrive together. So I invite you to just look around the space you're in, settle down, how your body is feeling. Just take a register. If you're sitting down, you're laying, just feel your feet on the ground, your hands. How is your body feeling right now? You can close your eyes if you want. You can take deep breaths and inhale, and with the exhale, you can let go of what happened during the day. I don't know, where are you from right now? And my place is 3:30, maybe at your place it's in the morning, so you haven't had an eventful day. So just arrive wherever you are. Notice what's happening in your body. Maybe you can already feel some activation. If you need to make yourself more comfortable, feel free to do that. This is a space for you. Okay, and you can open your eyes and come back to this room. How are you feeling today? You can put in the chat so I could see what's alive in you right now. Where are you saying hi to me from? Where are you joining from? Which part of the world? I'm really curious. I'm joining from Bali. This is where I've been living for the past 2 years. And you can just write, okay, there's Lithuania, of course, coming up. Okay, Bangkok. Okay, UK. Okay, Bali too. Lovely. So we have quite a diverse range of people. Okay, Lithuania again. Okay, Sanur, that's in Bali. Melbourne, all right, Australia. Beautiful, beautiful. I am so honored that you took your time to join this workshop, and I will try to make my best to make it compact and make it valuable for you, because as I was preparing for this workshop, I realized I could be talking about this for hours and hours, and I started noticing some anxiety coming in. How am I going to deliver all of this information, as well with the experiential part, in just an hour and a half? Because I know we all have busy lives. Who wants to sit in front of a computer screen for like 2 hours? I don't know. I don't really. So I will do my best to give you an intro, and I saw in many of your registrations that you're new to IFS. Some of you are familiar with IFS and hypnotherapy. Some of you are hypnotherapists yourselves. So this will be a great space to experience and explore different ways how you can use hypnotherapy and IFS to go deeper in the model. And yeah, so my intention for this workshop is to give you an intro of hypnotherapy, IFS, mostly focusing on IFS because hypnotherapy is more, I feel, easier to understand, and you will just experience it, and that's all you need to know. And with IFS, there are some things that is useful to know for sure before going into the experiential part. Yeah, so first part of the workshop is going to be more the intro for you to give a background and understanding, maybe already start exploring what you would like to work on in the experiential part. And then there's going to be a guided experiential part where I will guide you through a hypnosis induction, and then going to meet with your inner part and strengthen your core self. Okay, so I will keep the chat on. If anybody has any questions, feel free to put it anytime, and I will definitely look at that. All right. So some of you know me, but most of you don't. And I am honored that you joined without knowing who I am and without knowing my energy. And so a bit of an intro about me. As I was preparing, I was thinking, what should I say? What would be the most valuable thing that would help build trust and understanding of where I'm coming from? Because I have 1,000 stories of my life. I can tell a story how I became a therapist. I can tell a story of my eating disorder, of how I moved to Bali, my trauma story from childhood. And it's all true. But to put it down into one, I think childhood plays a key role, and most of the therapy is actually coming back to childhood and rewiring the patterns, the attachments that we formed in childhood that are now contributing to disturbances in our lives, whether it's relationships, work, just in general experiencing happiness. So my story was that I was born in a, well, first of all, my dad didn't even want me to be born. So that was already from the very conception. It was forming deep-rooted traumas in my body of that I'm not valuable, I need to prove my worth. So then I spent the whole life trying to prove my worth, feeling always that sense of control, rushing, not ever feeling good enough, and a very harsh inner critic that was, yes, helping me a lot. That was a survival mechanism that I learned, but it was more detrimental than helpful because I could not feel the joy and the ease of life. I always felt on the edge. And so in my healing journey, why IFS is so crucial and why I want to give this workshop for free without trying to sell a program or a course or anything like that, because I wish somebody gave me this information earlier, because for me it was life-changing. So the key transformation for me was that we all have all of these parts, all of these traumatic events. Everybody has their own journey. Nobody came to this world in a perfect family with perfect parents who are loving and supporting. And to know that this is not you, that you can see those parts. I'm already referencing the language of IFS, that these are just parts of you and you can transcend them. So it's quite a convoluted story, I now see, but I don't want to make this about myself. I just want to say as much about myself as it is to just build trust that I'm not in a perfect place where I'm a therapist and I know everything and I'm just going to guide you for a process because you're broken, because you're not. We are all having this inner self, the core of us that is not broken. And that is my goal with this workshop, to help you connect with that part. And yeah, if anybody has any questions, let me know if you want me to expand on anything. So now I came into hypnotherapy over 10 years ago when I was 8 years old, actually, because I had such sleep problems. I could not sleep. I was always anxious. I had all these tics in my body while I was doing like this all the time as a kid. So my mom just took me to, taught me some NLP practices, took me to some people who taught me how to hypnotize myself for sleep. And I was just using that. And then when I was 15, I discovered a thing called Silva method. So I got trained in that. I took all of their seminars and I was blown away. I was like, wow, I can actually regulate myself and I can get into this deep state of relaxation before each talk, before exam. I can learn much better. So that really helped me excel in my university, everything what I was doing. But only when I was in university studying health sciences, I was so stressed that my IBS got really bad. Well, even before that, I had many health problems. I had eczema, I had GERD, gastritis, but I kind of never linked it with my trauma. I thought that I was conscious of my traumatic upbringing, that my family was a mess. I grew up in shame, that I thought it didn't affect me. But at that time, when I tried all the scientific methods to help with my digestion, I became a nutritionist. And when it didn't work, that's when I turned to hypnotherapy and I began training in it more and applying it to help myself with my health struggles. And that's when I was like, okay, so it does come from the mind, right? And I think we all intuitively know that it's not just the functions, the mechanisms of the body. So the lesson is, okay, okay, it's all joining, right? Lovely. that there are so many people getting diagnosed with these disorders of the body, chronic pain, not knowing where it's coming from. And hypnotherapy can help you get deeper into your subconscious to access what's really there and to reprogram it, to control your bodily processes, to calm your digestion. And it's very tied to the nervous system. Those who are new to hypnotherapy, you can, most of the times I hear people say, oh, but will I get hypnotized and I will not remember, I will get amnesia or stuff like that. It's nothing like that. And if you ever got lost into an activity, like reading a really good book, riding a bike, maybe snorkeling, or whatever puts you in that trance mode. And you can now think for yourself, what puts you in that natural state of trance? What makes you lose everything? Some people call it the flow state. We all have naturally that tendency to go into natural states of trance. And that is basically your brainwaves changes. Okay, so you can even start thinking now, what puts you in that state of natural flow? And you can write in the chat box so we could see what puts you there. For me, it's drawing, it's dancing when I feel like I lose myself completely, something overtakes me. Yeah, for sure, meditation. Well, now I do hypnotherapy, so a natural trance state is a very common in my life. I'm very curious where you experience that state of deep relaxation and being drawn. Yeah, I see being in nature. Yeah, for sure. Side of the beach. Yeah, definitely. Now I live like 2 minutes from the beach, and I think it was one of the best decisions in my life, because whenever I'm feeling dysregulated, I just go to the beach. I need a few minutes and my body is immediately so relaxed, because just seeing water is proven by science that it definitely puts us in that different state of mind. Yeah, for us, it's also dancing, like for me. Beautiful. Hiking, reading. Yeah, so we all know how that feels. And so how does that natural state of trance feel in your body? Can also put in the chat. For me, it feels that everything kind of disappears. There is a lot of present moment, a lot of awareness of what's happening inside of my body. So the attention gets absorbed into something, whether it's internal state or to an object, we lose ourselves. But how does that feel in the body? Yeah, Sally says it's relaxed. Yeah, like the muscles are loose, we're not tensed. How else does that feel? Sometimes we go through life without really registering what is happening in my body, so that it's very hard to distinguish what's happening, to see in our real life, to notice these different stages, different states of our nervous system, of our mind, so that then we unconsciously reach for scrolling on social media or some other distraction, because we don't have enough awareness to see what's happening in my body and to basically see the upcoming of that urge to overeat, to distract ourselves. So now I want to take you through a little imaginary exercise to see how your body is responding to your imagination. That it doesn't have to be in real life happening. All it has to be, you imagine and you can actually experience it. So Milena is saying that it feels like everything within me becomes one. That's beautiful. Wow, that's a really beautiful state. So now I just invite you to close your eyes if you feel comfortable with that. And imagine that you woke up in your kitchen and you see a big juicy lemon put on the counter. You take that big lemon, it kind of fits in your palm because it's so heavy and ripe. And now you put it on the cutting board. You take a knife and you slice through the lemon. And kind of as you slice, the lemon juice starts squeezing and kind of splashes everywhere. So now as you cut that lemon, you take half of that lemon and put it up to your mouth. Smell it. Smell how juicy and how sour it is. You can smell that lemony smell. Beautiful. And now stick your tongue out and lick the lemon. And see what changes in your body. How does your body react? And now you can bite into it. And see how your teeth are reacting when you bite that lemon and you chew it. I can see from your faces. So you can now open your eyes. Where is the lemon? What happened here? So basically, our mind doesn't understand what is imaginary and what is real. So that is the power of hypnosis, hypnotherapy, because it's when we go into that state of deeper relaxation, we can visualize better. We can access our subconscious better. We can, please turn off your mics. So that's what we're gonna do later in the experiential part. So now going into the internal family systems. And now you can raise hands, those who are familiar with it a little bit, so I could see it from here. Yep. Yeah, I see 1, 2, 3. Okay, so yeah, basically the basic assumption of IFS is that we all have parts. We are not one unified. We are not one unified mind. That the nature of the mind is to be subdivided. And when we are thinking that our mind is one coherent thing, that's why it becomes so hard to manage all of these urges, the fear, the anger. I've worked for 7 years with clients who are, I should have made it automatically join. With clients who wanted to change their nutrition, their healthy habits, and it was all powered by willpower. Like, oh, I really don't want to eat all these unhealthy foods, but there's something in me driving me to eat them. And that's why now when I discovered IFS, it makes so much sense. And actually, how I discovered IFS was through a client who was struggling with eating disorder, and nothing worked on her. Parts hypnotherapy did work a lot, and that's when I realized, okay, so working with the parts is the key aspect. That's when I got trained in internal family systems, because its key concept is that we are not those parts, but we can integrate them and we can observe them through loving kindness to them not have affect us. And now maybe for those who are hearing it for the first time, it doesn't make any sense. And I totally understand that. Because it does take practice to understand what I mean by the core self and all the parts. And even clients come to me who read the book of the IFS, they know all the theory, but they're like, I don't think I can meet with my parts because when I try, it doesn't work. And that's why I wanted to do this experiential workshop, because usually what I find is that when there's someone in their self energy guiding the process, you can better meet with all the internal parts and you can understand what it actually means. So don't try to grasp now on a theory. It doesn't matter. It won't influence your success with IFS. And if you're curious about it, I definitely recommend reading the No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz, who is the founder of IFS. IFS has been around for around 30 years now, but only recently it got popularized because people started seeing how effective it is. And even though, so most of the psychotherapy is mostly kind of viewed in a perception in a society that if you have a diagnosis, then you need a psychotherapist. And the thing about IFS is that everyone can benefit from it, even if you're already feeling fine and you're living your best life, because there's always triggers coming. In IFS, we call them the trailheads. So relationships, perfect example. I think everyone here has triggers in relationships because it's not natural. And only if we see it as a bad thing can we not, like, it actually is a bad thing. Because by seeing it as a growth opportunity, then we can see what's it coming from? Where is this trailhead leading me to? And in my experiential session later on today, we will look into one of those trailheads. So you can already maybe start thinking about, or if something comes to mind, you can work on that trailhead. So what is a trailhead? If you got triggered by, your partner acting in a certain way, or there's always a pattern of you acting out, overreacting, because there is no overreaction. Every overreaction that we think is an overreaction is actually just our inner wounded parts acting out because they've had too much. And for them, this trigger is not an overreaction. It's a natural response to what they're holding. Bear with me if it doesn't yet make sense. So there are 4 goals in IFS. One is to liberate parts from their roles and to return them to their natural state. So what do I mean by that? We all have all kinds of parts and they're all valuable aspects. For example, I can share my own one part. So I was working actually even last week, even though I've done so many sessions, I keep rediscovering new parts because it keeps reemerging in different situations and it's not a linear process. So I was working on my controlling part, grasping part, because we're in a process of moving houses and it's just a lot of, I had a need to control everything to make sure everything is all right. And when I met up with that part that had so much control and scarcity and holding on to, and when I liberated it from its burden, it became a source of joy. And I was just jumping around the whole week from being so excited and playful. And that's the true nature of the part, is to have playfulness and joy. But it got burdened in my childhood when I didn't have enough food provided for me. I didn't have enough safety and comfort. So I had to learn how to control and provide everything for myself because I saw that my mom is not capable of providing that safety for me. So that my inner joy got overburdened by all this control. The second goal of IFS is to restore that trust in ourselves. And when I say self, is not the ego, it's the core self that we will explore again later today. And that is the part that cannot be diminished. I will talk about that a bit later, but it's important to know that IFS is different from other therapies because there is that much, that big emphasis on that self energy. So the third goal is to reharmonize the inner system. So we all have polarizations. And even yesterday I had a session with my therapist where I was looking into my different nervous system states, my sympathetic state and my dorsal vagal state. So how it was for me, they were kind of fighting. My sympathetic state was always, that's the activation, fight or flight, always driving me to do things, to rush, to hurry up, to always do everything fast. And then my dorsal vagal state, that's the slumpy, shut down state, would kick in and be like, that's too much. Let's go just scroll on social media or do something like to distract, to numb myself. And that polarization is creating so much chaos because they keep fighting with each other, and I feel so much guilt and shame for having that. And so the reharmonization of the system is to see all those polarized parts and integrate them. A lot of times that's for clients with disordered eating, of one part wants to control all that they're eating and another part just wants to eat whatever. Like, why are you telling me to control? And then this one takes control and controls everything. And then when this one has too much of the control, kind of overtakes the system. And that's the yo-yo dieting. And that's the binge cycle. So I hope that makes sense. And then the fourth goal is to become self-led. And that is actually what all the spiritual traditions call, mindful living, enlightened being, because you are living from your inner self from the capital S, uncompromised by all of these survival mechanisms. So now let's go into those three parts that IFS distinguishes. It's not super important for you to know everything. I just want to touch on it so that you would understand what I'm guiding you through in the experiential session. Okay. Just don't know how to make that I could see all of you. Can see only a few, but I guess it's okay. All right. So then what is that concept of the self? And it's very important to understand that this self concept for everyone is very different. To some of you, it might be your higher self. To some of you, it might be, Christ consciousness, inner Buddha, your guides, your angels. It's that state when you feel so centered in your body, grounded, you feel connected, you feel confident, calm, you feel compassionate, courageous. There's curiosity, there's clarity, and there's creativity. So that's all the 8 C's of the self. That is what is describing that state. So I want you to put in the comments, how does that self energy feel in your body? How do you name it? What's the language you use for it? Is it the inner spaciousness? Is it your, inner higher self? How do you name a state when you are feeling confident, calm, courageous, creative, you're feeling clarity, curiosity, and connectedness? How does that state appears in your body? And that's also important to name it. So I would know the language, and before each a session with my clients, I always ask, how does that state feel for you? How do you name it? Because if I have a client who's super not spiritual, doesn't believe in like the soul and higher selves, and in the session I keep referencing, so now connect to your inner guide or inner soul, they would be like, what are you talking about? But for some people, it really resonates. And if I say connect to your inner resource self, for them, it doesn't really bring that power. So it's very important to understand what word signifies that power. For me, it's my higher self. When I think of that word, it connects me to that state. So what is that word that would describe this self? And that's where actually, so Dick Schwartz, who invented this IFS, so inner child. Okay, so inner child for you is that state where you feel empowered, where you feel like that's your true essence. Okay, Milena is saying that that's her true essence. Yeah, I love that word, your true essence. And it's okay if you don't know the word right now. Maybe in contented, expansive. Yeah, so that's the how you experience it. But what word would you use, Liane and Vida? What word would you use to describe it? Is it your like inner self? Your higher self, Liane says, or like your inner Buddha nature. It's how do we describe that state? True self. Okay, lovely. I love that. I love calling it true self as well. So Dick Schwartz is a family therapist, and he invented this when he was working with actually eating disorder patients. And they kept referencing their inner parts, and that's how he developed the system over time. But he was also very influenced by the attachment theory. How many of you know the attachment theory here? You can also raise a hand. Okay, Liane says she is familiar. Okay, Jason. I can't see others, so if you're raising your hand, I'm sorry if I'm not seeing it. Okay, I can see now. Yeah, Rasa and Sally. Yeah, so it was very influenced by the attachment theory, but the only difference is that attachment theory says that you have to have an adult that you can attach to in a healthy way. And we all have attachment wounds to a certain extent. I mean, I cannot say probably all, but we've been also experiencing all of that to some level. Probably Milena could say more here because I know she's really big into attachment theory. But I want to touch on it because the difference is that we don't have to have that healthy adult. So what if you grew up in a family where you were abandoned? You were maybe abused. So what, are you now destroyed for life? Well, no, because this self, the true self, your essence, inner soul, higher self, it cannot be damaged. Everybody has it. And the founder, Rick Schwartz, was working with prisoners, with like rapists, with all kinds of disorders. And he found that everybody still has that true self. And it shows up only when all of these other parts step aside. You can also experience that through meditation. I went to a 10-day Vipassana retreat a few months back, and that's when I really experienced what it's like to always be in your true self, in that essence, because by being so mindful and observing all that's happening, it naturally falls away. So yes, definitely mindfulness is a big practice of IFS that you can practice after each session, because it has a very similar... Oh yeah, Milena says that it's like our inner co-regulation between our parts and our true self. Yes, exactly. Coming back to the attachment theory, the difference is that we have that inner core self that we can healthily attach to all those parts. But if you lived all your life up until now without actually creating that relationship, building that trust from your other parts, then of course you will meet with your inner child, inner wounded child, your angry part, your inner critic, your controller, or any other parts. They will be like, who are you? Why should we trust you? Because you've done nothing for us. So that's where the practice comes in, and that's where the mindfulness comes in, because as we are practicing that mindful approach of noticing what's happening, we are signaling to all of our parts that we are here, we are stable, we're grounded, and we are to be trusted. We can be trusted. Actually some traditions, spiritual traditions, call it enlightenment, when we live from this self-led state, when nothing else is leading the system. Have you seen the movie Inside Out? Inside Out 1 or Inside Out 2? You can also raise your hand. Okay, Sally has seen it. Anyone else can raise their hands? Okay, Rasa, nice. Yeah, you don't have to raise your hands in the video. You can just put up like what Sally and Rasa did. I think there's somewhere a button to put emoji. So anyone who hasn't watched the movie, I really recommend you watching it. Actually, Richard D. Schwartz was consulting the movie on making it, and it beautifully depicts what's happening in our internal world. Basically, we have all of these emotions, all of these parts, the anger, the sadness, the depression, the pain, fear, and we have the control panel. And the self is meant to stand on this control panel and navigate our lives. But what happens when one of those other parts take over the control panel? You lose control. Now the anxiety is ruling the system. So no wonder you feel like you are anxiety, because it is controlling the whole system. So what IFS is teaching is how to take back that panel, that control panel in your mind, in yourself, to lead your system from this controlled, from compassionate clarity, confidence, connection, compassion, from that kind of state. So then there are two other parts that I want to touch upon, and then we'll go into the experiential part. So yeah, we still have time for that. So we have the protectors, and that's the most common thing we see in all diagnoses. It's so easy to label people with all these diagnostic criteria, but it's mostly when Dick Schwartz looked into all these diagnostic criteria, he saw that it's actually all those protectors. So what are the protectors? There are two types of protectors. One are the managers and one are the firefighters. So the managers, I was run by a manager my whole life, I have to say. It was all about controlling, making sure everything is okay, so that my system would be kind of intact, so that the wounded parts that I'm protecting are not stepping out. But sometimes what happens is, if that inner wound gets triggered, it overrides my system. So that's when I can lash out in anger or be very sad and feel like my whole body is swept in this void. And manager's key role is to make sure that everything is like what a manager should do, right? To control, to also managers can be inner critics, that is keeping you safe by protecting you from not doing something to be criticized. So they criticize you for they criticize you so that you wouldn't act, you wouldn't do what you want to do. It would keep you small, not make you speak up. Managing life. And there's another form of protectors. It's the firefighters. That's when managers cannot do their role sufficiently. That's when the firefighter steps in, and it can resurface like a binge episode, or an anger, uncontrollable anger, or any other like self-harming behaviors, addictions. So that's the protectors. And key thing to understand is that each protector is a safety mechanism, a protection mechanism for us to survive. When I was a kid, I had to be strong, not show my emotions, because I saw that my mom cannot handle them. So I developed this protector of not showing my vulnerability, to being, I'm okay, I have everything together. Or in school, because I was so afraid that I will be figured out of my shameful family, that I always had to be the top performer. And that's kind of like, even if any one of you have studied like the childhood roles in a family, in a dysfunctional family, one child takes on the hero's child role, another child takes on the scapegoat, the lost child, because in a dysfunctional family, a child is forced onto this role. If there's a healthy family, a child doesn't have to be a scapegoat or pretend to be the hero child. So the same happens in our system. And protectors are there because of the exiles. So exiles are the second form of the parts, and that's the inner wounded part. That's mostly because of loneliness, shame, abandonment, and there's fear. So usually when we meet with the protector, and I can reference maybe the control. Like in my case, what I experienced last week was I had a big protector of control. It will control everything, and it was serving me when I was a kid, but now it's not serving me anymore because it's just making me anxious because I cannot control everything, and it's really limiting my growth. And when I looked beyond the controlling protector part, what it was protecting that little girl that was abandoned. And so the positive intent of the controlling part was to keep me safe and to not, to take care of my inner child who was feeling abandoned. Does it land? Does it say? Is it clear, or do you need any more explanation? I do understand it's quite convoluted, and I'm trying to put all this information in such a small time that I definitely notice a part of me who is worried of not conveying this concisely and clear enough. That's the beauty of working with your parts. You can always notice what's active right now. I definitely have an active part that really wants to bring value and is afraid that it will not be possible. And also the inner critic part I can sense a little bit saying like, oh, you should do better. But yeah, I'm glad to hear that it's clear. Okay. Well, for sure, it really depends on your own familiarity. Like I know that Liane is probably very familiar with this, so she's like, yeah, breathing. But for those who are hearing it for the first time, it might be more difficult, and I acknowledge that. And I understand your confusion. It was for me too. When I think, a year ago I heard about it, I was like, what's that? Is that the manager side of your mind that you were talking about? Yeah, that was the manager side, the controlling part, right? Or the part that wants to convey everything in a very good, in a clear manner. Well, they're both controlling parts anyway, manager parts. So, the self, the protectors, and the exiles. And what will we do in the the experiential session is so first I want to say that since this is a group setting, it's not going to be maybe as clear for you, because in one-on-one guidance, I can see where you are. Usually there's some blocks, some other parts are not allowing you to unmesh with the protector, and you feel like you are the pain and you are the anxiety. So I do want to say that this session is meant for you to start exploring it, to learn how to stay in yourself by observing all of those parts. And some of you maybe already have such a strong self and awareness of the situation that you can go deeper. But it's just not possible in the group setting to really unburden the exiles and go through the whole process, because it does require a one-on-one process. But I will do my best to guide you through allowing space to connect with what parts are activated. But know that if you are experiencing difficulty in seeing it, sensing it, it's totally normal. First time doing it, a lot of my clients are saying, I cannot feel anything. And that's when I have to do direct communication with a part. So I cannot do it here, obviously. Maybe some other times I can do like a demonstration where one person can do the demo with me and then others can see. But as for now, this is going to be my goal for this experiential session is to help you connect to that inner self, that self-led part, that true self, and to start exploring your parts, your system. So we all have the whole system of parts. As you work with IFS, you can start naming those parts and do like a parts map. You can also do like art therapy with it. I do paintings from one part, another part, and see how I can merge them, the polarization. You can do journaling exercises. That's something I also do every day to see what parts are active. Even this morning I did the whole journaling session on my parts, and that's a beautiful way to navigate life, because I can see that, okay, I am not that part that doesn't want to do anything, or that part that wants to do everything and doesn't even want to do the morning rituals, because I can just see the needs of those parts and see how can I meet them. So the same for you. My goal is to help you see those parts, see what's the intention, the positive intention of those parts, to better understand. Because usually when so all my life I've been trying to get rid of my inner critic, to say, you're ruining my life, get out of here, stop, shut up. And it was just getting stronger. And in IFS, it's completely the opposite. We give space for all those parts and just listen to them with compassion, curiosity, clarity, and see, what are they really trying to do for me? What are they afraid that's going to happen? What are their fears? What exiles do they have? And I have learned that actually 50% of my inner critic was actually a legacy burden from my grandma, so it's not even mine. And then it was protecting me. It's wanting me to be validated and acknowledged and to be part of the society and to be helpful. And when I saw all these positive intents of my inner critic, it immediately transformed, because all we want is to be seen. All the kids want is to be seen. And you can see that play out in a societal level, how countries fight with each other, but actually all they need is to be truly seen. So let's see how it goes and how we can actually see what is happening. What is that part trying to communicate to us? It can also be a pain you're experiencing, anything really. And also, we're not going to go to the exile, because that usually requires more of my guidance one-on-one. It's more fragile, and sometimes if we go to the exile without listening to the protector, it can lash out, and then it can be even worse. And that's why sometimes if we don't listen to the protectors after sessions, it can really lash out and backlash on us. So let's be very gentle and just exploring the protector parts. And it would be very useful. Sometimes I find, if it's not one-on-one session, to have a journal where you can write something, because if a mind is very active, with which hopefully the hypnosis will help a little bit, but if the mind is active, sometimes it's hard to notice the part, what is active in ourselves, because it's just too much. And writing down, it kind of quiets the mind, it slows it down. So you can also have something open if you want to journal about it. It can be very useful. Okay, I've done a lot of talking now. Does anyone have any questions before we go to the experiential part? You can write them down in the chat. Do you know what part you want to work on? And as well, during the whole guidance, please communicate if you cannot meet with a part, you cannot see anything, you cannot feel anything, and then I can give you guidance of what you need to do. Why is it? Okay, so Sally wants to meet with the shyness, emotion of the shy. That's good. Is it a protector? It's some exiles can also have those emotions. So it's hard to say from now, is it for sure a protector or an exile. But when you meet with that, it doesn't really matter to now name it. Is it an exile or a protector? What's important is just to meet with that part. I wanted to give just the introduction of the part, so you would have more understanding. But really, the point of this is to hold space for anything that's there and see, why is that shyness there? What is it serving? What purpose does it have? What is it afraid is going to happen if it didn't make you shy? But it's very important always to check in how you are feeling towards anything that you're observing, because if you are sensing, I don't want you in my life, I want to get rid of you, usually there's another part, that polarization that I was talking about before. And when there's polarization, there's just going to be fight. There's not going to be that true sense of opening and understanding of the part. So it's very important always to connect to that self aspect again. Okay, so if everybody is ready, I invite you to settle in where you are. Maybe take a sip of water if you feel you're thirsty. Well, I guess you weren't speaking as much as me, so. And I invite you just to take 3 deep breaths. You can soften your eye gaze. Take in your belly and out through the mouth. And again, in through the belly. Hold the top and then out through the mouth. And one last, in through the belly. When you're full, hold at the top for 1, 2, and exhale through the mouth, let it go. Very good. And I will do a rapid induction because this is a very short guided meditation. So I want you to now look up above your eyebrows. Open your eyes as if you were trying to look in your eyebrows. And notice how with each breath, as you look into your eyeballs, your body becomes more and more relaxed. And how with each blink, your body goes into a deeper state of relaxation. And when you feel that your eyes are getting tired of all the flickering, you can gently close your eyelids, but keep looking up. And your eyelids are still going to be flickering, but keep looking up. And feel how your body is getting deeply relaxed. As if there was a wave of relaxation coming over your body. With each flickering of your eyelids, you get deeper and deeper. And when you feel you are in a deeper state than before, you can relax your eye gaze into a normal position. Keep your eyes closed. I cannot hypnotize you. You can only hypnotize yourself. Only you can take yourself into that deep state. And you are safe. You can take yourself out whenever you want. You are in control. So now I will just do a quick scan of the whole body to deepen the relaxation, to deepen your experience, and to bring you that natural state of hypnosis, that flow state that we talked about before. So allow yourself to settle in. Take this time for yourself. And if you are a visual person, you can imagine a bucket of light streaming to you at the top of your head. And when it touches and fills your whole head, it completely relaxes every cell in your body. And you can sense how your eyebrows relax, your eyelids become heavy, like a thick, heavy blanket, weighing down your eyes, your cheeks, your lips become fully relaxed. And now sense your whole head full of that relaxing light, and how it becomes heavy and warm. So now that light flows deeper down through your body, filling your neck, your shoulders, and you all feel how it just reaches a deeper relaxation. The light streams through your chest, your belly, your arms, and now you can sense how your whole upper body is so relaxed, so heavy, so at peace. How everything else fades away and you can only hear my voice and feel your own internal sensations. And now that relaxing light flows deeper into your hips, your thighs, which is your knees, and goes all the way to the tips of your toes. Now your body is so heavy that even if you try to move, it kind of is difficult. And the more you try to lift your hands up, it becomes even heavier and even more relaxed. That's right. Very good. So now I will count from 10 to 1, and with each number, you will step down a flight of stairs, and you will take a breath in and out with each step, and with each breath and each step and each number, you will go deeper and deeper into your internal world. And when you reach step 1, you will come to a place where you feel completely safe and at ease, where you can meet with your higher self, your true essence, and let that fill your whole body. So now stand in front of the staircase and make your first step, 10. Take a breath in and out and sense how your body is becoming more relaxed, more at peace. Go down, step 9. You go deeper and deeper. Breath in and breath out, step 8, 7, and you sense how your whole body is becoming still, your mind is becoming absorbed. Step 6, breathe in, and as you breathe out, you can sense how you're becoming more relaxed where you are. Step 5, step 4, and you know that only 3 steps are left to reach your completely safe space where you feel so connected, so loved. Step 3, you go deeper, deeper still. Step 2, and finally step 1. And now you step onto the ground and you are in a beautiful garden. The greenery, the flowers, take it all in. Maybe there's a river nearby or a lake, maybe an ocean. Maybe it reminds you of a place you were somewhere before, where you felt so safe, so at peace, so connected with everything around you. And remember how it feels when your whole body is filled with that true essence of who you really are, that inner spaciousness. See what changes in your body. If that's within your practice, you can also invite your guides or your higher self. You can see light coming in and filling your body. You can put a smile on your face to embody this state of goodness. Unlock it in your body. Allow yourself to feel all this goodness. Maybe take one more deep breath to finally allow it even more. What it would be like if you connected even more to that state. If you asked for guidance, maybe if you haven't experienced what that feels like, you can always ask for guidance. It's always there for you. If it helps to imagine something like some light or a particular person or an animal cuddling you or coming over, you can also connect to that. That's beautiful. So remember that during that whole session and every time you need it, you can always come back to this state and always connect to your true essence. When you are feeling so grounded to the earth and to the cosmos, you feel your whole body present. That's right. And in the moment now, I will ask you to step aside and see yourself a situation where something has been bothering you. Find that trailhead. See yourself maybe where you experience a particular situation or you get triggered by a person, and see yourself from above as if you're observing that situation. How do you feel towards yourself there? What parts do you feel activated? Sense what's happening in your body. What do you notice? Usually it appears somatically somewhere within ourselves. It's either in the stomach, in your heart, maybe you can sense your limbs tightening. And that's a very good trailhead to follow. That's a very clear signal that there is an activation of a part. And notice how you feel towards that activation, towards that sensation or that feeling. What first comes to mind? Don't try to think it, just feel it. And if you sense that you either want to get rid of it or you're angry at that part, that it's making you act out or causing disturbances in your relationship or whatever the situation it is for you. And if you have that feeling of not acceptance, then it's a clear signal that there's another part overtaking yourself again, your true self. So just take a moment and ask if there is anything that is holding you from seeing that part, from meeting that part, from your true self, to ease up a little bit, to take a step back. You can reassure them that you are not going to try to get rid of them, or you're not going to try to let them overtake you, because sometimes other parts are afraid that another part will overtake you. So just reassure that you are safe, and see what changes as that part eases up a little bit. If you immediately feel compassionate and curious about the problematic part you initially saw in the situation, you can start a conversation from that true self. And you can ask that part to tell you anything they would like them to know about you, about them. Why do they do what they do? And if you want, you can write that down. You can, if you do take on writing, you can just kind of write as if you are that part. If that's anger, shyness, you can write as if that part is writing. I am here to do this and this for you. And you can ask that part, what is it afraid would happen if it didn't do what it's doing now? What would happen? And keep checking how you are feeling towards that part as you're observing it. And keep connecting to your true self so you could provide that loving kindness to that part. There's no rush. You can just meet with all that's there. When you feel like it told you what it's here to do, what it's protecting you from, you can ask, does it know how old you are? Because a lot of times our managers and exiles get stuck in the time when they got created. And they need an update that, now I am a 30-year-old woman and I'm not a 3-year-old anymore. So you can just check with that. And just see how that changes in the body. What different sensations appear as you meet with that part from that compassionate state. Does it transform? You can ask that part, how old is it? When did it get created? And see what it tells you. Maybe it shows you a moment in life when they got created. And see what's there to see. If they're feeling safe with you and opening up to you, you can ask, what are they protecting? Is there an exile that they're protecting, an inner wound that they're afraid will come out if they don't do the role that they're doing. If it's an inner critic, maybe there's something that they're protecting. For a controlling part, if you want, you can write something in the chat so I could provide you more guidance on the part that you're facing. That's right. And you can just observe how it changes when it gets that attention. How does it react when they're not attacked, but they're met with this loving kindness? Maybe there are a few parts, not one part. Maybe some parts are interacting. And just notice everything that's happening. What parts are appearing? And if it's a fierce protector, you can ask them, aren't they tired of what they're doing? Do they like their job? Or maybe they would like some different role. The goal is to see the positive intent of the protector and to get the message. Beautiful. So you can continue this work after this workshop. Every day you can check in with the parts. That is usually the key predictor of a successful IFS therapy, is that you keep doing the work. And don't worry if you cannot really meet with a protector, you cannot really understand what's happening in your body. If it's your first time doing this, it's totally normal. It's totally okay. Just stay observing your body, what's happening. That's perfectly fine. If some emotions come up, you can also let it out. You can also show that I hear you, I see you. Sometimes those parts want us to feel their emotions fully because we just push it down all the time. And we're coming to a close. Wherever you are in your process, you can thank your parts for showing up. And you can say to them that you will come back to them next time. That now you're aware that they're there and you will try to be more present with them. And now you can come back to that garden where you met, embodied that true essence of who you are. And now you can invite any spiritual figures or people who inspire you, who have a lot of self-energy, that you can model, that you can take on that embodiment from them. Maybe any specific quality you would like to embody more. Maybe more joy or playfulness or courage. Anything that you feel you want to embody more, you can invite a symbol, a person, or anything else that symbolizes you, that quality. And you can see how that quality enters your body and you embody that now. And see how different you feel with that quality coming into you, whether that's presence or lightness, ease, peace. How does your body react to that quality? How different you can show up now to your everyday life situations, every triggers. And that's beautiful. And you can lock that in your body by pressing any two of your fingers. And you can know that whenever you need to come back to this quality, to this connection to your true self, you can press those two fingers and it will come back to you. Beautiful. And now I will count from 1 to 5. And when I count to 5, you will be back, present here, full of that inner presence, connected to your true self. 1, you can take a breath and sense how it's bringing you back here. 2, you're saying goodbye to all your inner world, you're coming up. 3, 4, and 5. You are back in your room. You can open your eyes, sense what's happening. If you do want to journal your experience, dive deeper into those parts, for sure do that. I'm curious to hear, how is this for you? Because this is the first time I'm doing such a group guided IFS, more extended version. And previously when I did a few samples of that, some people went really deep into connecting to all of themselves, and some people found it harder. So I'm curious how it was for you. What protectors did you meet? What came up? What emotions were there? Was it easy to stay in the self and to observe the part? Yes, sure, Vida. Enjoy your day. Thank you for coming. How was it for you? I get that it probably is hard to communicate right after a meditation. It's like maybe something shifted, maybe not. Yeah, Amelia. Well, usually we feel more anxious or heavier if we got blended with a part, if that overtook us, or if an exile showed up. So if you met with a protector and there was an exile behind it, it definitely can overwhelm. So my recommendation, what to do in those situations, is to stay with that. Stay and see, okay, what is this anxiousness and heavy feeling trying to tell me? Yeah. Where is it coming from? How is it trying to protect me? And you can use journaling, and what works best, I found for my clients in between sessions when things get triggered, it always does, is to do the journaling directly as you are the part. So you can do the journaling from the anxious part. Say, kind of imagine that you are the anxious part and you're just journaling. So I am the anxious part, and now I'm feeling really triggered because like you're not supposed to, do all of this work and analyze, and it's just threat to the system. And what are you even thinking? And it's better just to stay in your lane, or you can say whatever. And your job is to just write from that part and then connect to yourself, come back to that true essence that we did in the beginning. You can imagine any situation where you felt expanded, loving, and then hold all of that, what you just wrote, and communicate in that way. I do acknowledge that it might be hard if you're new to IFS, but that's the best I can offer to hold all of that. Yeah. Yeah, sleepy part. I could see you were always. So Lean is saying that it was a sleepy part for her. That you don't do too much. Funny thing, I always get that during breath work. Definitely relate to that. It's the numbing part, disassociating part. Oh, don't go there. It's too much, too soon. Okay, so I was afraid of me wearing myself out. It was 5 and thought I was 2. Oh, okay. So I was 5 years old. It laughed and said it loves its job. And the quality that was wanted to connect was with rejuvenation. Okay. Interesting. What is it trying to protect you from, to not wearing yourself out? I see. So Sally wrote that she met with one of hypnotherapists before and had never experienced this deep. Okay, I feel like I listen to what I felt, my trauma, and I communicate with them. Somehow resolved, or I feel lighter. You are amazing. I believe you are one of the hypnotherapists out there. Thank you, Sally. It's good to hear. Shelly fell asleep. Well, sometimes it is our bodily function that we didn't get enough sleep and then we fell asleep. But sometimes, how Leanne, I'm not sure how I'm pronouncing that right. Liane. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for butchering your name. Sometimes it is a protective mechanism to not allow us feel numbing. And clients who have extra protective systems, they cannot feel anything in the first session. They're like, what to feel? There's nothing in my body. There's nothing. There's this black void. And that's very common. So it can be a protective mechanism that a sleepy part is like, let's not do this work. Just continue as you are, because it's more safe to continue as you are than to change. Okay, she had a pretty intense 24 hours with an eating disorder. Horrible, intense sensations and symptoms. Okay. That makes sense, Shelley. Thank you for sharing that so openly. Well, the good news is that I find IFS very helpful for eating disorders. So that can be maybe useful for you to explore deeper. I don't know how deep you are in IFS. Anyone else wants to share how their journey was? Was it what they discover? Any wants my comment on that? If you want, you can always also come live, unmute yourself. That would be, I guess, even easier to communicate. Or any questions anybody has about IFS or hypnotherapy, or how to use it now in their lives, or I know where to look for therapists who are IFS trained. I'm reading what Penny wrote now. I think everybody can see the chat. So it says that the meditation was really good, and I feel like I get connected to my body and mind. It was telling me to put more consistency in daily habits, since I have struggled in addiction and up and down in mental health. Okay, well, sometimes, those parts do have a valuable message, like kind of higher self messages to us, what really needs to happen. And every morning, well, almost every morning, I do this journaling exercise where I write, what would love have me know now? And you can replace love with God, with your true essence, with your soul, with your guides, whatever you want. And it's a very useful tool to get those messages daily. What is it that you need to focus on right now? Maybe you need more consistency. Maybe you actually need more relaxation and just connection, because a lot of my years in practice with nutrition clients, it was based on willpower. Though I have to say, 4 years back, I realized this is not going to help. So I went full into behavior strategies and all kinds of other habit change tools to kind of trick ourselves into doing it. But what I found in the end is that the best trick to consistently stick to any habit is to maintain a high level of self-energy. Because if we have a high level of self-energy, we will not want to procrastinate, to scroll mindlessly, to engage in disordered eating actions, depending on the severity. And everything is much easier when we are connected to that strong self. Because my whole mission with IFS is to help people connect to their inner self so that they could lead their lives not from those protection mechanisms run by anxiety and fear, shame, guilt, but to free ourselves and to live from our true selves. And if anybody, if you want to know more about what I'm sharing, I have a YouTube channel. I share some of these things on my Instagram, Facebook. So you definitely come connect on that. I love connecting with all of you, especially working online. It sometimes feels so faceless. That's why I decided to do this online on Zoom. So it's good to see your faces, and hopefully see you in some other meetings or in an online space. And if you have any questions, you can always contact me privately. How do you maintain a high level of self-energy? Penny said. So for me, it is journaling, movement, dancing, and anything that helps me get embodied, because high level of self-energy is basically being embodied in your body. So that is nervous system regulation, to notice what state I am in so I can come back to that ventral vagal state. And that is the regulated state where I feel connected, I feel whole, expanded. And for me, it's always keeping that pointer that anything that is happening, any parts, it's not me. I can notice them. Today I woke up with a lot of inner critic, like, who am I to do this workshop and to lead all these people, and all, like, it's always, something's always happening. But for me, to just maintain that distance, and doing journaling really helps. Any embodiment practice. Okay, I'm happy you're feeling inspired to explore more, really, because that is my goal with this, to put you on the path. Because if I were to have this 3 years ago, 5 years ago, it would definitely change the whole trajectory, and it would be so much easier to feel whole and not like I am unworthiness, I am shame, but to integrate that. Thank you, Penny. Thank you, Mantrimas, Emilia, Liane, Milena. All of you who attended, and look forward to connecting with you in other workshops, in online spaces. And if you have any questions, as always, reach out to me. If you're feeling bad after this session, like, what Emilia messaged in the chat, definitely also reach out. I will try to help out as much as I can. And have a beautiful rest of your day.